Hi everybody. We are currently discussing the microeconomic behavior of the firm. Over the last couple of weeks we've been talking about the cost relationships, and now we're going to start getting into the revenue relationships. Basically, the sole purpose of a firm and the only reason, hypothetically, that an entrepreneur would even dream about opening a firm would be to make profits. It's kind of obvious. And not just any amount of profits, but the most profits that the entrepreneur can possibly make. So let's start our analysis with that presumption. Let me start writing it down here so you can keep up with me. I'm home, so I don't have my nice little pen that you can see easily. I have this thing, so bear with me if you would. The goal of the firm is to make profits, lots of profits, the most profits it possibly can. In other words, the goal of the firm is to maximize profits. Now, profits, and we'll use there the Greek letter P, that's pi, the Greek letter P to represent profits. That's typical in economics because the Roman letter P already stands for price. We wouldn't want to get those two mixed up, now would we? No, of course not. This is the end-all be-all of the firm, the alpha and the omega, to maximize profits. Now, profits are equal to total revenue minus total cost. It's probably obvious to you. I apologize if I've insulted your intelligence. Profits are equal to total revenue minus total cost. Now, the firm, of course, wants to maximize profits. How does it do so? Does it maximize profits by maximizing total revenue? Does it maximize profits by minimizing total cost? No. The firm maximizes profits by maximizing the difference, by maximizing that difference between total revenue and total cost. How does it maximize the difference between total revenue and total cost? To see that and to understand that concept, we have to understand the cost relationships and the revenue relationships. Once we understand the cost relationships and the revenue relationships, we can understand then how the firm maximizes the difference between total revenue and total cost. Now, which should we start with first? Total revenue or total cost? As you know, we have started with total cost. We've been looking at those cost relationships. The long-run cost relationships and the short-run cost relationships. The reason that we started with cost is because once we understand the cost relationships for one firm, we understand the cost relationships for all firms. Cost relationships are determined by, I guess it would be physics. And the physics are going to apply equally to small firms, large firms, whether they're on Earth, the Moon, Mars, whatever. The laws of physics are the laws of physics. And that's generally what's going to determine the cost relationships. So the cost relationships, which you could draw those pictures, for a mom and pop store would be the same cost relationships for a large manufacturing firm, say the size of General Motors. While it is true they will become economies of scale at different levels of output, General Motors large, mom and pop store small, the relationships between total costs, fixed costs, and variable costs for both are the same. as are the relationships between average total cost, average fixed cost, average variable cost, and marginal costs. So over the 3 previous chapters, chapters 7, 8, and 9, we have looked at the cost relationships. So now we understand the cost relationships for all firms. To understand how a firm maximizes profits, we're now going to have to start talking about the revenue relationships. Now, here's the problem with the revenue relationships. The revenue relationships are not the same for all firms. The revenue relationships for the mom and pop store will be different from the revenue relationships for the large manufacturing firm like General Motors. Now, what is it that causes the revenue relationships to be different one firm to another? The major difference, the major factor that determines the difference between the revenue relationships is the degree of competition. How competitive is the industry within the firm within which the firm operates? If the firm is highly competitive, the revenue relationships are going to be different from the revenue relationships for a firm that exists in a non-competitive industry or even a monopoly. So we're going to have now to parse the difference between the competitiveness of industries so we can understand the revenue relationships. Now, we're going to look at this continuum of degrees of competition. We're going to start here with the most competitive industry possible. We'll call that perfect competition. Perfect competition. I'll just put perfect comp there. And we'll go all the way over here to the least competitive industry, and that would be pure monopoly. Pure monopoly. So we're going to start with pure competition, and then the next chapter is going to go directly to pure monopoly, and that is so that we can immediately determine the distinctions between the two. After that, we're going to look at more realistic market models of industries, monopolistic competition, and oligopoly. Okay, but we're going to start with pure competition, or perfect competition as your authors call it. Okay, so that's enough for this movie now. I'll make another one here right now and post it right after this. Okay?